I'm now going to introduce our second speaker. Her name is Vidica Vasiljevic, and she has a Master of Science in Biotech, and she has been working since 2019 at Novartis. She used to be a process expert. Now she's a technical steward, and she's going to talk about the job profile of a senior process expert.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity, for organizing this nice event, and also thank you to all participants for joining us. As Vanessa has introduced me, my name is Vidica Vasiljevic. I'm here to introduce you the job position process expert, which I held for about 3 years. But before we start with our deep dive into typical process expert tasks, my daily work routine as a process expert, and the major aspects I liked about this job, I would give you some background about myself and my personal career. I would describe myself as a nature enthusiast. I like being outside, exploring new places, seeing new landscapes, flora, fauna, as well as tasting new food. So this is me over there, and on some of the pictures, on one of these pictures, you can see my favorite animals as well as my own fermentation product, since sourdough baking is one of my favorite hobbies. So maybe it is not a surprise that I have always pursued life sciences, and I decided to study at the University of Natural Resources and Life Sciences, which you will see on the next slide. I hold a master's degree in biotechnology and did several internships and student jobs during my studies. I started working in pharmaceutical industry at the company BMI, where I had the position scientist in product development, and later on the position a bioprocess associate in upstream manufacturing. And in 2019, I joined Novartis in the division drug substance Kundl in the position process expert. Most recently, I have changed my position to technical steward in manufacturing science and technology in the same division, drug substance Kundl. But now let's move on to the major topic of my presentation, the process expert job position, where I have summarized the most prominent responsibility of a process expert for you, which would be the root cause investigation, risk assessment, definition of corrective and preventive actions, change control management, and manufacturing process improvement. Process expert tasks may not be limited to this task and could vary due to individual specialization. However, especially root cause investigation and risk assessment play a major role in most process expert jobs. In order to give you even a clearer view on what is actually meant by these keywords, I have thought of more depictive examples. Now let's start with root cause investigation and risk assessment. They are required for each deviation. What is a deviation? A deviation describes an incident which occurred unplanned and can be distinguished from the routine process. One example of an unplanned happening, which probably everybody could think of nowadays, maybe loss of electrical power. So loss of electrical power would cause to the breakdown of some equipment. Imagine at your home, loss of electrical power, your fridge at home without electrical power. So your job as a process expert would be to find out what has led to this incident and what could be any possible consequence of this incident. In terms of root cause investigation, you would ask questions like, what did cause the electrical power loss in the fridge? Could it be that the fridge was unplugged? How did it get unplugged, or was the circuit breaker even triggered? And why was it triggered? In terms of risk assessment, you would ask different questions. You would ask, did the inside temperature change? At which extent and for which time period did it change? And you would assess if this change in temperature has any impact on the product quality of the products you have stored in this fridge. You would also assess the full scope of this incident. So you need to assess if only this fridge was impacted or if there is any other equipment which was impacted. So when you have your findings, the final root cause which led to this incident, and assessed all the risks associated with this incident, you would get active you would initiate corrective and preventive actions. The aim of these actions is to eradicate the root cause, prevent the event from reoccurring, and also to mitigate all risks from the impacts. So in the very simple case, our case that the fridge was unplugged, immediate correction would be to plug in the fridge again. If it's not that simple, so that the unplugging occurred unintentionally due to another activity which was performed in the same area very close to the plug, then you would require preventive actions, prevent the reoccurrence. One potential preventive action could be to secure the plug efficiently so that even if the activities occur very close, they do not jeopardize the energy supply. Or if it's not possible otherwise, it might be required to relocate these activities to another area further away from the plug, so even then to not jeopardize the energy supply of this fridge. It depends on the case, what is feasible. And these corrective and preventive actions could include a change of an already established procedure. Since we are in a good manufacturing practice environment, any change in these established procedures in facility, equipment, manufacturing process, analytical methods would require change control management. Change control management is in place to have the changes properly assessed before starting the implementation, and to have every change traceable at every stage of the change control. And how are now the process experts involved in this change control management? Process experts could be involved in the assessment, in the implementation actions, or even coordinators of these changes. It depends on the topic. Now that the last point would be manufacturing process improvements. Last but not least, we have established processes. As I said, changes in established processes require change control management, which is a high effort, but not impossible. So especially pursue innovation, we would follow on new technologies or other possibilities when they are given to achieve higher process robustness or outputs. So if we have any possibility to achieve this, we would consider this reasonable process improvements and pursue this project. Process experts are encouraged to share their ideas on potential improvements, to participate in evaluation, and sometimes even project managers of such projects. These tasks seem still rather broad, depending on what's the actual manufacturing process. And this is the right time point to explain, as I show on the next slide, the sequence of the manufacturing process, that process experts are involved throughout the whole process. They are usually specialized in one part, either in upstream manufacturing, where the pharmaceutical product is generated via cultivation of the production cells, or in the downstream part, where the pharmaceutical product is purified from a complex solution resulting from the cultivation growth, or they are focused on the drug product part, where the final formulation and filling occurs in highly classified clean room zones. You can also see that the facilities there are big differences between the facilities of these parts. I like to share these pictures with you. So for upstream manufacturing, we have the exemplary complex supply of a bioreactor. And for the downstream part, I put in as an example the chromatography equipment, the industrial chromatography equipment, highly different from the chromatography you saw in Harald's presentation, and then for the highly classified clean room zones with the isolators equipment representative for the drug product part. My positions in Novartis focus so far mostly on the downstream manufacturing, and so maybe it's good to know, because in the next slide I will show you my daily work routine to give you some further view behind the scenes. On the next slide, I have summarized the activities which were on my agenda on a representative working day, which started in the morning between 7 and 8 a.m. It started with the manufacturing process update meeting, where I had to prepare, or some other colleagues, depending on which process was running. So several functions participated in this meeting, mostly operational manufacturing, but also engineering, quality assurance, quality control. And this several functions which participated had regular working hours, whereas the production was run 24/7. So we had updates on Monday, which were from all the data, all the happenings from the weekend. And on every other working day, we had updates from the previous day, including the nights. Which topics were discussed in these meetings and what was to prepare. So in my case, for downstream, we checked the chromatography profiles. Most recent analytical results would be checked, and even schedule status. So we would want to know if there is any delay and what did cause this delay. Especially, we wanted to know if there are any irregularities observed. And if there were, this could dictate the whole following day or days. So an investigation would start, most probably with an on-site visit or inspection of the affected equipment or room, as well as including the interviews with the incident observers to obtain the first-hand information on what has happened. The investigation would proceed by utilizing some useful tools like 5Y, fishbone diagram, is-not analysis, failure mode and efficiency analysis for risk assessments. And when the investigation results were all available, this needs to be written down in a report. So report editing is also on the agenda, as well as trainings. So we are under continuous improvement in good manufacturing practice. This leads to updates of established standard operating procedure, and those updates need to be distributed among the target audience in a timely manner, and to ensure that you get informed, you would perform the trainings on a regular basis. Now that we know that a process expert has a lot of work to do, here comes the good news. You're not alone in this work. So you are quite connected as a process expert in every task you do. You are not micromanaged. You can take your own decision, but you work with various departments in almost every task. To list just a few departments which you work together is quality assurance, quality control, all functions of operational manufacturing, engineering, manufacturing science and technology, process development, regulatory colleagues from regulatory, material management, and so on. Of course, other process experts from predecessor and subsequent process parts. So there are many colleagues. Now let's go on to the aspects which I want to share with you, which I like the most about this job position. So first of all, I want to start to tell you that in contrast to my expectation during university time, that working under good manufacturing practice would be rather repetitive, I have experienced a quite varied work life. Now you can follow on with the unplanned and partly unpredictable incidents, you have different strategies to solve them and different outcomes. So it was quite interesting to work on that. And with your experience and expertise, you would recognize the weak spots and prevent events, best case before they happen. And then you will feel the sense of achievement for your successful improvements and effective corrective and preventive actions, which I liked. And what I liked also about that was that these achievements were recognized and rewarded by my operational management. The major reward for myself was the support in my career development. So I was able to follow on my interests, but also smaller rewards, like we have a company intern gift platform, let's say it this way. It's called Sparks, where every colleague has a budget of 100 points to share with the other colleagues. That way you can say thank you for the especially good collaboration, or to show that you are inspired by a special expertise of a colleague. I liked also these small rewards, not only because you can exchange the points for vouchers, but also because of the nice words from my colleagues. This was something I liked. The next point would be state-of-the-art manufacturing facility and equipment, which was one thing which encouraged me in the first place to apply. In university, I saw the equipment and on pictures and performed calculations for up and down scaling processes in the industrial manufacturing facilities, but we were only able to work with lab equipment or pilot scale equipment. So I was quite overwhelmed when I was the first time in Tyrol and saw this big facility by all the opportunities which are given with it. Another thing I like, it's not special to this position, but because it applies also for the current one, we have flexible working hours and the possibility to work from home. I highly profit in my work-life balance from that. So I like to have sometimes my lunch at home, but I also enjoy going to the office and seeing my colleagues. It's quite nice to have both opportunities. Last but not least, this is something special about a process expert. It's a highly interconnected position. You have a great opportunity to get familiar with the complex organizational structure and get connected with various departments. This is how I recognized my interest for manufacturing science and technology. And I also recognized that I want to take further steps in my career development in this direction. And I took this opportunity by starting the new position as a technical steward. With these words, I want to encourage you to take brave steps one at a time in the direction which drives you the most. This is also why I chose my closing quote. If you always do what you always done, you'll always get what you always got. So be brave and make some changes. And thank you for listening. And feel welcome to ask me any questions about the job position process expert. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vidica. Now we're going to open the Q&A. If you have any questions, again, just raise your hand. We highly encourage you to then unmute and show your video. Again, if you are shy, you can also ask questions into the chat and I will read them out loud. We actually have a question that came in the meantime. It's from Tamara. She says, thank you. My question is it possible to work internationally at Novartis, for example, to go abroad, and is it encouraged?
So if I can take that question, so there are multiple ways of answering this question, to be very open and honest. So first of all, working internationally is also possible in the existing roles. So there's always a global connection, a global colleague does of another site that maybe has a different experience. So there is already at that point in a position that you would be holding in Austria a lot of interchangeability that you could find and that you can seek actively with the entire Novartis network. So this is definitely, we are a global company with a global network, and we really take advantage of this with regards to knowledge sharing. So this is one aspect of it. The second one, going abroad. So once you have started with Austria contract, it's possible to go abroad. So absolutely, it's also encouraged. We do have a lot of people that are now in Austrian contract that previously have been at different sites, either in development or in manufacturing. So this is across all areas. Usually, I tell you, it is managed by changing the employment country from one country to the next. So you would need to apply internally. Usually, internal applications are very highly valued and given high priority, high preference also, because obviously you're very familiar with the tools that are the same across the entire network. So there is always a very big desire to hire international candidates and have them relocate from one country to other. As we answered earlier on, this would also be supported by the global mobility team, supporting the entire relocation from one country to the other. What we have done in the past, but we don't do so often anymore, are global assignments that you really have a dedicated time, let's say 6 months or 12 months at a different site, with already a return date and a return contract. So most of the time, we really encourage people to leave for different experience in a different country, and once they have acquired enough experience and want to come back, they would need to go through another round of interviews and apply for the job postings that at this stage are open. So I hope this answers your question, Tamara.
Thank you very much. I personally have one question for Vidica. I know that she has a master's in biotechnology, and as someone who knows roughly the curriculum of biotechnology, I wanted to ask you, which skills did you have to learn after your master's, and which skills do you think are very transferable? So what tips would you give master students in, for example, biotechnology, or people that have a similar curriculum to biotechnology? Which skills should they try to improve on, soft skills or hard skills?
Biotechnology does suit this job position quite well, because you are it's a multidisciplinary field. So you cover the understanding of a bioprocess, which is the main part, and also you have some engineering skills, of course, enough to have a proper conversation with the real engineers. And you also, my studies, we learned about pharmaceutical companies and the quality management systems. So this was also part, I profited highly from all these parts. So for other fields where I don't know the curricula, so these are 3 major parts which I would recommend you to have some insight into these ones. Of course, you need some experience in the company to be more advanced. For me, in the beginning, it was the most challenging thing was the complex organizational structure. So to know whom to ask if we have so many departments. This is something you will not learn in university. You cannot learn in university. Maybe you will know some structures from other companies, but still you need some experience in the company. So did I answer your question completely? Let's evaluate. You have.
Yes, I think so. As far as I have understood. Okay. Thank you very much.